Hello everyone, a warm welcome to this live interview with Kashish at GMATWhiz. We always try to bring you inspirational stories of people who have not just aced the GMAT but also have aced their MBA dream. They have tried their best to get into the top B school. So we always try to bring you relevant stories. In the last entire 1 month itself, we have brought us a lot of different stories. So do subscribe to our YouTube channel and like this video to see some of those. You can go to our playlist and go through GMAT success tips or application success stories, and you can watch a lot of such inspiration stories. And today we have another such story, and this is very like this story is very important and like inspirational to people who are retakers, because I come across a lot of people who say that, okay, you know what, I've taken these many attempts on GMAT, you know what, I'm not able to understand what is happening with me. And a lot of people even give up on the GMAT dream. They think that, okay, they can't do better than this, without realizing that it's not the problem with them. The problem is not with them. It's the problem is not with the test. The problem is about what they are doing with the test, like how they are approaching the test. And once they change their approach, their entire score can change. And today's story is an amazing story. Kashish, who took 5 attempts on GMAT, scored a 690 after a lot of preparation on the third attempt. And then he saw his score dipping for the next 2 attempts. His score actually dipped from a 690 up to a 660 also. And even after putting in effort, when he started seeing the score dipping, he realized that, okay, I can probably go ahead and apply to these schools with 690 as my score. And he actually decided to put the GMAT thing on hold. He actually did not prepare for GMAT for over a year. I would go to the extent of saying that he decided to, in a way, give up on GMAT, thinking that this is the best I could do. And after realizing that probably a better school score in GMAT can help him convert some of the top schools, which I'm sure he's going to convert with his profile very soon, he decided to work on it again after a gap of almost 18 months. And in the next attempt, just one more attempt, which he was not able to do in the last 5 attempts, in the next attempt, within 6 weeks, like much lesser than the time that he spent on his preparation earlier, was able to score an amazing 720. Now, many of you might think, okay, 720 is a very low, like many people think, okay, I want to get 760 or 770. But trust me, 720 is like the top 5 percentile. It's very good score for anyone who is looking at the top B schools across the globe with a good profile. And we have a situation story of Kashish with us today. So I have done a longer monologue than I usually do for any of the interviews. So without any further ado, I would invite Kashish to this discussion. So hi, hello Kashish. How does it feel to finally get that seven visit in the beginning in the
Yeah.
test?
It's a sigh of relief, I would say. For someone who's married and giving 6 attempts on the trot, with all the schedule and with business and everything going on, it's not easy. It takes a toll on you, and you start questioning even things that you are good at. So GMAT, in a way, I'm very lucky to put this GMAT thing behind me, and thanks to you and your team, your fabulous approaches. In 6 weeks, I could not believe I was a clean slate, and I could not believe that I turned it around.
I can totally relate to it. And in fact, I very clearly remember your very first message that you sent me after taking the GMAT. And it was all very heartfelt. I could see the energy, the happiness in your heart that, okay, I'm done with this, and really this is something which I was actually waiting for. So I would love to hear the story, and I'm sure all the people who are watching this or will watch this interview later will love to hear your story today. So Kashish, let's start from the very beginning. So tell us about yourself. What is that you do? And like, let's start with your GMAT journey. Like before working with GMAT, you took 5 attempts. So what were these attempts like? How long did you prepare for? Just a brief idea to the users will get.
Basically, Piyush, I am a part of my father's business. We have a 40-year-old formal shirt brand, and I run my business. I've joined him since the last 7 years. So I thought I needed some, I since COVID, we thought that business needs to pivot in a few directions. That's why I thought I'd give MBA a crack, and I started, prepping for GMAT. I took offline classes. The approach of those offline classes was not great because, you know, I'll give you an example. They taught SC in such a way that they used to go through all these options, and they used to systematically
Mhm.
go. I mean, they were more focused on the rules rather than, looking at the meaning of the sentence. So those offline classes didn't work. But I think I started with 580. My first attempt was 580, and I just rushed into the exam. I just wanted to get the feel of the exam. I knew I was going to, probably give a couple of more attempts. So
Okay.
then I think I took a break of a month. Again, I scored a
Okay.
640. Again,
Okay.
I took a break of 20, 25 days. I scored a 690. I was probably doing decently on mocks, and I was
Mm-hmm.
scoring 690, 680, 700. But
Okay.
when I gave the fourth attempt, I was very surprised to see I scored a 660. I was so disheartened. I was so disheartened, and I felt like, uh, this could be my last chance. And I gave the fifth attempt without thinking. And once you're in a rut, you keep on doing those wrong things again and again. So I was probably in that rut. Till 600, 650 level of questions, you don't go to that next level of acing those 700 plus questions. So I was probably in that rut of doing those same kind of questions, gaining some confidence, uh, applying for GMAT, and again scoring low. So what I did, I took a break of a year, and I thought I need to drastically change what I was doing wrong. Verbal, I think, was one of the sections where I was very weak at, and CR was probably the my weakest area, I would say. So
CR, you say.
I CR.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I
So,
was
Kashish,
still
just
in.
I'm just going to stop you here a little bit, basically. So, going back a bit, like you mentioned that you took 5 attempts. Like how long did you prepare for these 5 attempts? Like, when did you start your journey? Approximately, what was the preparation time that you had?
I think I gave these 5 attempts in a span of 4 months, for two and a half
Okay.
months.
And did okay. Sorry, you start saying something.
The first attempt took me probably 2 months because I was confident with cons, and
Okay.
verbal was here and there.
Got it. Got it. So basically, 2.5 months of preparation, then 4 months of these attempts. So approximately six to 7 months is what you prepared for overall for these 5 attempts, and basically the highest score that you got was 690. And you took a
Yes.
break then, and you started again. Okay. So again, this is a very common scenario. A lot of people actually face this, that when they are taking the test, like their mock scores are decent, they get to see a 700 plus in the mock, so they feel that okay, they're ready. And sometimes it feels like okay, actually just there, but they're not 100% confident that okay, what is the problem that's happening. And many times we feel that okay, it's just that particular day, so let me try another attempt, let me go for the test again. So I totally understand those things are real things, and a lot of people who are watching this would have done a similar thing. So what changed in that in that next attempt? Like I understand that break would have definitely helped. It would have given you a new perspective, a fresh perspective. But when you started thinking about GMAT again, like even before you enrolled to GMATWhiz, what was your thought process like? Like how did you think? Basically?
I, to be honest, I attended a few live, what do you say, sessions that you took. I think the first session that I attended was you taking 4, 5 questions of SC, and
Okay, okay.
the approach that you used on those questions, I mean, the meaning, I mean, it was so slow. You took 20 minutes for one question. It was so slow and it was so good that it instantly clicked with me. So I thought to myself, this I wasn't doing any of these things when I gave the first 5 attempts. Not with RC, not with CR. You don't know the meaning of the sentence. You're just skimming through quickly. The time is on your head. You're just skimming through everything quickly. And at that time, I would say quantity mattered to me a lot. I used to think that if I solve 100, questions, I'll be fine. If I solve 100 assumption questions, I'll be fine. I'll be good. But that is not it. I think in this attempt, I don't think I've solved even 200 questions. I would say on my weaker
Okay.
areas.
That's interesting.
No, on my weaker
That's
areas.
interesting. So you're saying that you so basically on each of SCCR and RC, about 200 questions is what you solved, like each of these areas,
No,
right?
no, no,
That's
no,
what
no.
you're trying to
I would have solved close to 600 questions. Whatever questions were
okay,
on the platform, and plus the
okay,
OG questions. That's it.
okay, okay.
That
So there
was
are
it. And but the thing that I did differently this time was the thing that I did, I think, differently this time was I used to pre-think for SC and CR. When I used to read the question, I used to, I had that the subject doesn't agree with the verb there and there itself when I used to read the question,
Hmm.
which was not the case back
Hmm.
then. Even in the
Hmm.
CR, when I read the question, I used to quickly segregate everything into premises, intermediate, conclusion. So I had the framework in my head already while attempting this attempt. So, and then pre-thinking about what could be the possible answer to these questions. So it's not necessary that
Okay.
for example, even in an assumption question, there is a possibility that there might be two right answers, right? The shield model,
Hmm.
and you can have two right answers. So what I used to do is I used to pre-think all those right answers. I used to write them down, and I used to compare those with the solutions that GMAT has provided. So
Right.
getting into that zone where you have to, this is the bottom down analysis. You're not doing from the
True.
top, reading the question, going back to the answers, and marking the answers, but going through the options, pre-thinking, and then coming that yes, this is a necessary assumption which is lacking.
Hmm.
So that,
Hmm. Hmm.
and when I used to read the answers, it was pretty easy. The answer came to me.
You have touched upon a lot of great things, Kashish, in that. So I'll just highlight a few things for our users. So one thing which you mentioned was that quantity doesn't matter as much as quality. So this is a very big mistake a lot of retakers do, especially. And first time test takers also make this mistake that they focus on doing X number of questions a day. Like a lot of people ask me, Piyush, tell me I want to improve from this score to that score. How many questions do you want me to practice daily? And my answer to them is that if by practicing questions one would have improved, then everyone would have scored a 700 plus on GMAT, because like there is no dearth of questions. Everyone can put
Hmm.
in the effort. The main thing is the approach, and that's what you mentioned. That approach is what is important, and you did not do probably, like if you mentioned like 600 questions you did, so probably first time around if you solved like thousands of questions, this time around you did not even do like 30-40% of them, and still you got the result. So that's a very, very important takeaway for everyone who is watching this. Second thing, which I would just want to highlight a little more, as Kashish said, is that when you're looking at questions, your approach should not be like, I have to look at the option, go back to the passage, skim through the passage, understand, and just like do back and forth. Rather, have a crystal
Hmm.
clear understanding of what's being stated and then move forward. So that's something which is very, very critical for you to get the questions right.
Importance of transition words I understood after the course. Transition words can be so important, but however they can play such a big role in getting to that answer. So, and the approach with RC, actually that was the game changer. RCs, I think, has to be one of the game changers for anyone who wants to score more than 700, because RCs have the capability to have four successive right answers, and you can have four successive wrong answers as well. So RCs, I think, has to be the most important thing. So the approach that we used for RCs, uh, why the author is probably giving that line right now, why that but is coming right now, why how the first and the second paragraphs are joined, why the author is concluding to this, those things. uh, for someone like me who had so many preconceived notions, getting faith in this approach was just a bit of challenge to me. But once I saw the results, I was so. I mean, I'm right now confident to take another GMAT test, and I think I can score a 750 as well. That is what I feel right now. But when I scored a 690, I never had that conviction that I'll give the test again and I'll score a 730 or maybe a 760. Right now, I'm more confident. I feel because of the approach that I have.
No, that's very, very important. And as my next question was going to be the same question, that how did you convince yourself about this approach? Because a lot of people, when I tell them that you have to actually, there is no shortcut on GMAT. You have to go the hard way. Basically, you have to follow the right method. So a lot of people say, okay, you know what? If I actually spend so much time on understanding the passage, realizing, rethinking, do you think I'll have time for solving questions? And we have Kashish sitting in front of us who has taken 5 attempts on GMAT, had tried other things, and again, वो हिंदी में कहावत है, like I'm just using our mother tongue here a little bit, कि दूध का जला मट्ठा भी फूक फूक के पीता है. It's like if you
Hmm.
have failed in your previous attempts, you would want to question everything. That's something
Hmm.
which is there. So uh, taking over that was difficult, and kudos to you, Kashish, for believing in GMATWhiz methodology. See, we have given the course to every student of GMATWhiz, but people who believe in it are actually the ones who succeed. So kudos to you to believe in that after that those many attempts. And when you did that, you were able to do that in 6 weeks time. You were able to turn around your score in 6 weeks time. And I actually struggle to convince people that actually the fastest way to get your GMAT score is the longest way. You have to actually take time to solve questions, basically.
You need more depth to your understanding, I feel. So I think I
Exactly.
called you in third week of my prep because I was, I told you I was struggling with conviction and having faith with the process. Initially, I used to, skim through the passages in 3.5 minutes, and time was never an issue for those 5 attempts. But in the sixth attempt, in the sixth attempt, I think the last three questions I was struggling with. The time was an issue for this attempt, but the evolved and involved approach. What happened? I I started slow. I used to take as long as 8 to 10 minutes just to understand the passage,
Okay.
e-
Okay.
which is pretty high. Coming back from 8 to 10 to probably to a 5 or 6 is difficult. But my confidence rose when I came from 10 to 9 and getting that accuracy. So that is the thing that changed. Slowing things down changed gears for me. Even with SC or maybe CR, pre-thinking. I think I can't emphasize more on pre-thinking. One has to go in authors, what why author has written that, why is that the conclusion. So I can't emphasize more on pre-thinking, I would say.
Yeah, it's all about understanding the context. And as you rightly said, that basically you have to slow yourself down to actually increase your speed. So initially you were taking around 10 minutes to read a RC passage. And then by the time you took the GMAT, you were able to do the same in 5 to 6 minutes as well. And that's something which I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure, Kashish, would have happened naturally for you, right? You would not have to put in extra effort that, okay, I have to read faster here or do this way or that way. You were just being natural, correct?
Yes, yes, yes. It came naturally. The first session that I think I took the free trial, and the first session had this transition words passage where you have to stop, where those prepositional phrases come, where what the author is saying. So that changed my process altogether. Even I read an economic times and I I still see that, but my mind just stops for a second. Now the author is changing his tune.
That's great. That's great to hear. So I generally, when I do these interviews, I generally think of, okay, let's talk about the first 10, 15 days and all. But the conversation that we're having is really great. Like, we are getting really good inputs to it. But I would just like to summarize our entire journey also for the users. We have already covered a great number of points of CCRRC and all. But just at a broader level, like, if I look at your 6 week plan, I understand that middle of this plan, like around 3 weeks, at the end of 3 weeks, you connected with me when you're having, let's say, questions around whether the approach will work for me or not. But like, let's
Hmm.
still break down the 6 weeks into three parts. Okay, what do you do in the first 15 days, next 15 days, and the last 15 days? So just to get users an idea that, okay, how should they plan their preparation if they're a retaker, let's say. Okay, and obviously everyone has a unique plan. I totally believe in that. So I've already given the link to schedule a call on my calendar for those who want to kind of okay, I have not actually given the link here. So I'm just going to give the link. So in case you want, any one of you want to connect with me to get an action plan for yourself, you can use this link, by the way, it's there in the chat. But let's understand from Kashish for now that how did he break it down. So let's start with the first 15 days in a brief. What did you do, basically?
First 15 days, I started with the sections that I was good at. I was just coming
Okay.
back from a fresh mindset. I was just forcing myself to do something. So I
Okay.
started with quant. I started with quant, and I started with a bit of SC. So
Okay.
in the first 15 days, I was slow. I'll be honest. I was very slow. I started with a bit of SC, with a bit of as soon as I completed SC, I think on 15th or 16th day, I started with CR. And quants I was good at, so I knew that I could cover the whole section in probably 10, 12 days, and I would not need to look back. But you know, that won't work with everyone. But I used to give sectional tests on our site every other day, and just to be in
Okay.
touch. I just didn't want to lose that momentum that I had with quants. So cons was out of the way, and then I started with SC. I started writing all the rules, and I started uh, taking this new approach, meaning based approach, with
Mhm.
SC in the first 15 days, I would say. And towards the end of the first 15 days, I think I would have, laid down that foundation for CR,
Okay.
where I knew what premises, where I had to stop, where what the conclusion was, and then in the next 15 days, I would cover CR and RC.
Okay. So I'll just stop you here, Kashish. Okay. So very important thing that you mentioned, that for someone who was actually coming to preparation after a break, and for someone who had actually had those many attempts on GMAT, it is very important to maintain your motivation level. That's a very important point that you made, and that's why you started off with a stronger section. So all of you who are watching this, again, you guys can go ahead and ask your questions. It's not like just me and Kashish will have the discussion here. So if you have any questions, you can watch it, ask over here. But I would strongly recommend that any one of you who generally feel demotivated if you don't score well, or you are not, let's say very confident about your score on GMAT or your potential on GMAT, it does make sense to start with the stronger section. So that's a very important tip. Please note it down. Like for people, some people, I recommend starting with the weaker section. But for most of the people, I also recommend, especially working professionals, because you have to work with GMAT alongside your office. So you need that motivation. You need that strong, positive score in the first few weeks. That's where the inertia you need to break, basically. So that's a very good point, Kashish, that you made. So first 15 days, quant and SC were your stronger areas. You focused on them. Then 15 days, you focused on CR and RC. Got it. And this 15 days, like, you were continuing to work on quant and SC as well, or like how was it?
I used to give sectional tests on
Okay.
SCN Quant. So every 2 days, I would mix and match some questions, and maybe hard, easy, medium, and I would give sectional tests. And I just made sure that I was not, doing very badly on them, even after, not being in touch with all the concepts. So sectional test was one thing, but as soon as you start with CR and RCs, focus on meaning changes. You have to read everything. You have to make a note of everything. So in a way, I think it helped with SC also, when you were reading such a big passage, and when you do the next question is an ST question, so it becomes easier for to get the meaning out of those questions. So what I did was, as soon as a section, let's say an assumption question is over, I would go to the OG solutions that you guys have provided on the website itself, and I would solve all the assumption questions with this approach without timing myself, just to gain that extra confidence. And I would just go slow with CR, because CR I knew was not that a strong suit of mine. I somehow, with the sectional tests and the OG sections, I was doing pretty good, better than last time, I would say. So I started with RC towards the end of 30 days. I made sure that I would solve, two RCs a day. I would get 1.5 hour, and I would solve two RCs a day, maybe 1 hour in the middle. I would solve 10, 15 questions of CR. And at the end of the day, maybe I would solve a quant test or a SC test. So that is how my schedule looked at the end of the 30 days.
Got it. So approximately 3 hours in a day is what you kind of used to give to your studies.
Yes, two and a
Because
half to 3 hours. Mhm.
got it. Perfect, perfect. So one very just summarizing, like just one important takeaway I'm bringing out, which you mentioned earlier. I wanted to present this to the users as well. You focused on the solution part also. You mentioned that even in the beginning when you're talking about rethinking, that you used to identify certain assumptions, and then you used to check with the solution whether those assumptions, that line of reasoning, is the same in the solution. Now, this is a very important factor which a lot of people overlook. Like I've seen people just looking at the solution from the perspective of why A, B, C, D, E are correct or incorrect. What they don't check is that whether the question stem analysis is also correct or not. And Kashish is a live example sitting in front of us. He's telling that he used to do that for every single question, and you can see the impact that it had on the score. So it's very important, guys. Never ever just jump to option analysis. It's one of the most important points that Kashish has made today, is that check the solution, check the understanding of the argument that you had versus the understanding that is supposed to be there. and that's when you will actually become perfect in context analysis. So,
Getting two, three solutions to a CR question is not that difficult. With
mm,
assumptions, you can always put a shield model in. So you can always
mm,
have two, three options, but that gives you a
mm,
lot of confidence. You're thinking in a different direction. What could have happened?
mm.
What will happen? In assumptions, I used to struggle with, I would always select a strengthener. The strengthener is never the answer. What is necessary versus sufficient. I think I saw a video of Saqib sir on
Mm.
this on our playlist, and that is where the whole concept changed. So I've gone through all the videos that GMATWhiz has put, where they'll take you through all the hard questions. They'll show the approach, how they go. I would strongly recommend everyone to at least look at the sections at least where you are weak at. Not for all, not all, but at least look at the sections where you're weak at.
Definitely, like because obviously, like you have to personalize the learning curve according to what your requirements are, and we have mentors at GMATWhiz to help you with that as well. So in case you're having any issues, feel free to reach out to your mentors. They'll definitely help you out with this. So a great part, right? Overall, the pre-thinking, all those things, and I'm really happy to see. Like, what was your verbal score on the actual day? What was the verbal and con score?
My quant score was 50 and my verbal score was 38.
Perfect.
I
Great,
got
great,
the
great.
quarter analysis also done. I got the report
Okay,
also. So in the
okay,
first three
okay.
quarters, I think I had 85, 85, 85, and third, I think it was 50. So I
Perfect.
did, I think, well in the first three quarters. And in the last four questions, I had very little time, so I didn't do
Oh,
well in the
that's
last. Mhm.
those questions don't matter as much. Like what matters is the first three quarters of the end.
First three quarters, yes, yes, yes.
Great, great, great. And what about the last 15 days? Like, what I understand from you is like first 30 days you did not take a mock test. That's another great case. And those of you who have been following us on the YouTube channel, if you go back and see all the last 5 or 6 interviews that I have done, you will not find a single person who has actually been doing mock test every single week. Okay. All of them have actually done mocks in the very last 10, 15 days
Mhm.
or 20 days before the test. So I'm assuming, Kashish, that was the case with you as well.
Yes, yes, yes. I gave first mock, I think, 6 days before the exam.
Okay.
And at the time, I think I took a 12 o'clock slot, and I used to give mocks at the same time in the same condition. The center was pretty far, so I used to travel, and I used to make sure
Oh,
that I'm not in the right state to give the exam. And I
okay.
used to make myself give the exam at 12 somehow. And I give
That's great.
two GMAT mocks, I think, and two official mocks.
Okay.
The scores were pretty decent. In the first, I think in the first mock, I missed close to 8 questions.
Okay. You didn't complete the test basically. Yeah.
I did not randomly mark also, so I was just focusing
Mm.
on accuracy. I was never looking at the timer. It happens when you look at the timer, you start pacing yourself in the middle of the test when it's not needed.
Mm. Unnecessary case.
Hmm.
Okay, so what were your mock scores like in the like first one? I understood like after a long time you were taking, so probably didn't go well. What were the last three scores?
In the official mocks, I scored I think 740 and 730, and in the GMATWhiz mock, I scored around 700. the questions the questions were good. I think there was some familiarity with the questions that I solved on the official ones.
Mm.
I think I knew at least two questions beforehand,
Okay.
so that can make some difference to your score. I feel one or two
Mm.
questions
Okay.
here and there can make some difference.
No, definitely. And GMAT with mocks are also slightly more difficult. So we usually say people get a
100%.
20, 10, 20 point improvement from GMAT with mocks.
The mocks are pretty difficult. The hard questions are really tough. Not as difficult as the hard questions, I think, on the official mocks. But again, the process, you have to have the conviction on the process. What you're doing, you have to keep doing again and again. You can solve questions on GMATWhiz, you can solve anywhere, or any question you can solve, but the process gives you conviction.
That's the main thing. Good. Good. So, any closing remarks, Kashish? Like we covered a lot of great points with you. So, any closing remarks for the people who are watching the video?
I would say go slow. First, go and watch that quarter analysis video that Piyush sir has done on YouTube. I had very less idea about that. And the second thing I would say, I would tell everyone to go slow. Aram se karo. There is no, you don't have to, uh,
Hari.
36 out of 36 right nahi hone wala. You just have to go slow. You just have to be convinced of the process and why it is right.
Very important. And जो वो the point that you are making about the quarter thing and the 36 out of 36 correct नहीं होने वाला है, that's something I'm just share the link for that as well. So watch this webinar, you'll understand what Kashish is trying to say, that how the test taking strategy should work, because a lot of people don't even understand how the GMAT test really works, and that can also take your perspective. And go slow, like very important that you understand your approach, believe in the approach, and stick to it.
Hmm.
That's the key thing. So thank you so much, Kashish, for taking out time today to like talk to students about your case. And I'm pretty sure that you were also watching a lot of these videos when like you were a
Every
student.
single day.
So I'm hopeful that a lot of people will take inspiration from you, and who knows, I might interview one of these people like in the future. Like I hope that we continue
Yes.
doing the good job of helping students out. So thank you so much,
Hmm.
Kashish, for being there
Thank you,
today.
Piyush sir, for having me.
Thank you.